For most of my adult life, medication meant reassurance. A small pill, taken at the same time each day, carried the promise of stability. It was something I did without thinking, the way you lock a door before bed or turn off the stove. Routine became comfort, and comfort slowly became trust. I trusted that if the prescription was written, it was right. I trusted that if nothing felt urgent, nothing needed attention. I trusted that consistency alone was enough. That trust lasted decades. Medication slipped quietly into the background of my life. I didn't forget to take it. I never skipped days. In my mind, that meant I was doing everything correctly. I believed responsibility was measured by compliance, not by curiosity. What I didn't understand then was that medication is not static. Bodies change. Time changes. Circumstances change. But the routine stayed the same. And because it stayed the same, it felt safe. There was dignity in that reliability. I was managing my health. I was being sensible. I wasn't careless. Looking back, I can see how easily routine replaced awareness. I didn't ask questions because I didn't feel unwell. I didn't reflect because nothing seemed broken. Life moved forward smoothly enough, and medication became something I lived around, not something I thought about. The danger wasn't in taking medication. It was in assuming that familiarity meant understanding. That assumption settled in quietly, and once it did, it shaped years of my life. Familiarity has a way of softening attention. When something becomes part of daily life, we stop noticing it. Medication was no different. It sat on the counter, lined up neatly, always there. Its presence felt neutral, almost invisible. Over time, subtle changes began to appear. I felt more tired than I expected. My balance felt slightly less reliable. My thinking felt slower on some days. These weren't dramatic shifts. They didn't interrupt my life. They simply became part of it. Like many seniors, I explained these changes the same way most people do. I told myself it was age. After all, aging comes with trade-offs. That explanation felt reasonable and complete. What never crossed my mind was medication. I didn't connect the timing of my pills with how I felt later in the day. I didn't notice how small side effects could overlap, amplify, or disguise themselves as something else. When nothing feels clearly wrong, there's no obvious reason to look deeper. This is how blind spots form, not from neglect, but from confidence. The longer I took the same medication, the more permanent it felt. It became part of who I was rather than something I was using. Questioning it felt unnecessary, even ungrateful. I also didn't want to complicate things. Appointments take energy. Conversations feel heavy. Raising questions can feel like inviting problems that might not exist. It felt easier and kinder to myself to leave things alone. That ease came at a cost I couldn't see yet. Medication doesn't always announce its effects loudly. Sometimes it speaks in whispers through fatigue, through unsteadiness, through subtle changes in mood or clarity. When those whispers sound like normal aging, they're easy to dismiss. I didn't realize I was listening to the wrong explanation. The signals were there long before I understood them. They arrived quietly, without urgency. A moment of dizziness when standing, a foggy afternoon, a sense that recovery took longer than it used to. Each one small enough to ignore. None of them felt like warnings. They felt like life slowing down. What made them easy to dismiss was their inconsistency. Some days were better than others. That variation made everything feel normal. I told myself that everyone has off days. The body, however, is remarkably patient. It adapts to what it's given. When something creates strain, the body compensates. That compensation hides the source. I didn't realize how much effort my body was spending adjusting. Medication interactions don't always create sharp symptoms. Often, they create a low-level imbalance. Energy drains more quickly, muscles feel less responsive. The nervous system stays slightly unsettled. None of this feels dramatic. It just feels different. The hardest part is that these changes overlap with aging itself. That overlap creates confusion. When cause and expectation align, questioning stops. I stopped questioning. I assumed my body was simply doing what bodies do at 80. Slowing, softening, adapting. It took time to see that some of what I felt wasn't inevitable. It was contextual. It was layered. It was influenced by things I had stopped paying attention to. Medication wasn't the villain, but it wasn't neutral either. Understanding that difference changed everything. The realization didn't arrive as fear. It arrived as clarity. I began to understand that medication is not just something you take, it's something you live with. And like any long-term relationship, it needs occasional reflection. Bodies change with age. Metabolism shifts. Sensitivity increases. What once worked seamlessly can begin to behave differently, not because anything is wrong, but because everything is different. Medication doesn't age with us. We age around it. That insight removed blame. I hadn't failed. I had simply assumed that time didn't matter. Awareness became the turning point. Not alarm, not urgency, just attention. I began noticing patterns instead of dismissing them. I started asking gentler questions. How do I feel after this? Has this changed over time? Those questions didn't create anxiety. They created steadiness. Medication stopped being something fixed and became something responsive, something that could be revisited without judgment. That shift restored a sense of agency I didn't realize I had lost. Independence depends on clarity. When the body feels predictable, life feels manageable. When small imbalances creep in unnoticed, confidence erodes quietly. Medication awareness supports independence by preserving that predictability. It helps the body stay aligned with its needs rather than constantly compensating. When I became more aware, daily life felt steadier. Movements felt more reliable. My mind felt clearer, not because anything dramatic changed, but because strain was reduced. That reduction matters. Independence isn't about refusing help. It's about having the capacity to choose. Awareness protects that capacity. Medication, when understood, supports life. When overlooked, it can quietly complicate it. The difference lies in attention, not fear. I didn't become obsessed. I became informed. That balance preserved dignity. What I carry forward now is not vigilance, but respect. Respect for how the body changes. Respect for the tools we use to support it. Respect for the quiet signals that ask for attention before they demand it. Medication is still part of my life, but it's no longer invisible. That awareness gives me peace, not worry. It allows me to move forward without guessing. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Caring doesn't require alarm. It requires presence. And presence, even late in life, makes all the difference.